Hello everyone, this is Terrence of the TSKGesusFree.com, and in this particular um vlog 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, I think it's 8 or maybe 9, I don't know. Uh, you'll see on the title, but um so so the whole MGTOW movement, and I made a few videos in the past about the last November or whatever, how MGTOW sucks. And so, yes, I still believe that MGTOW sucks. Now, in terms of you can live a single life for various different reasons, okay? So, a person who lives, a man who lives single for his whole life, um, doesn't necessarily have to be a MGTOW. Okay, so what MGTOW is men going their own way, and because the laws and culture disfavors men and women being married and having kids together, and so our society, the legal system in the United States is something that is like not that well, it favors women more than men, obviously, because when you think about it, yes, it should favor men. It should favor women over men, but not to the extent like society. Like right now, feminism is like overdoing it, and so MGTOW is saying let's just it's just a reactionary movement, and it just it's seeking to balance feminism out. Okay, and and if there is a if there's women, it would all across society, even in Nazi Germany, people in people say that women are children are dying in Nazi Germany because of the Holocaust and the prison camp system and their whole system. They're gonna say women and children are dying over there. But if they said the majority of them are men, then there's less of an actual need to go over there. And so, yes, it's horrendous on all fronts, but the marketing side is that Germany was doing um what was was even though it's a much smaller percentage of women and children dying in the concentration camps and in the prisons of Nazi Germany, um, there it's much easier to get a society to go to war saying that there's women and children over there dying in the prison systems of Nazi Germany. And so, and and of course, MGTOW tries to go against there's aspects of MGTOW and there's aspects of feminism that goes against what God has intended us to be. So and this is one of the reasons why Genesis 2, yeah, I think, yeah, Genesis 1 and 2 basically describes what it means to um get the when a husband and wife comes together, and the both husband and wives, that's what it's meant to be. So men and women are meant to be husband and wives. Not everyone is meant to be a husband and a wife. Not every or meant to be a single person for X amount of years, then become a husband and wife, husband or wife, and then become grandparents or whatever. There's different stages of life, okay? And so I really don't care if Jesus puts me in a situation where I'm married, and I don't really care if Jesus has me for single for all my life. I really don't care. Like either way, I don't care. Either scenario works for me. I just don't care. Now, if I'm gonna get married, I have some stipulations, obviously, because I see marriage differently than basic fellowshipping. And so that's a whole different topic right there. And so like the whole aspect of men are supposed to be with women. Like it makes biological sense when God created man and female, male and female, to be together. Like it's obvious where there's certain parts that are fit together. It's meant as a society, it's meant to be women and men go together. Now, when a culture is deteriorating to a point where men and women are not wanting to be together because in the United States, specifically the United States and some other Western countries, feminism is brought up to a much bigger and like women are much in a position where they're they're like kind of overstepping it, so to speak. And so um yeah, and then overstepping the grounds of, and then men don't want to be with women because of the whole Me Too movement and a whole host of other reasons, because the legal system is against them. But on a religious um, grounds, I cannot accept MGTOW just because it's the basic notion of men and women are supposed to be um, men and like as a society as a whole, men and women are supposed to multiply, like have kids. And so in order to have kids, men have to be with women and women have to be with men. And so when men say, no, we're not going to have this anymore and we're done with dating, and we heard all these stories about these horror stories. Now, a lot of these horror stories are probably overblown. Like, they're not necessarily overblown, but there's a lot of these quote stories out there that that I'm giving them a grain of salt, but at the same time, a lot of these stories are true on the side of the men, like in the viewpoint of the men, but they don't actually. But I don't know the whole detail. Um, I don't. I watched a bunch of MGTOW videos a couple weeks ago or whatever, and just hearing what their thoughts on it and their thoughts, and it only goes on the side of the man, and the man only thinks that, and this is one of the biggest problems with MGTOW, and it's the same problem with feminism, is that it's too much me centered. Okay, so it's too much me centered, meaning men don't want it like so men um so men don't want, like, don't like are thinking that they're all that, but in reality they're not all that. I know, I'm sure there's some of them there that are really great husbands and their wives are complete jerks. Don't get me wrong, that happens. But yeah, I but to the level of these massive amounts of men are not gonna pursue women because, yeah, they're still interested in women, but um they're not going to date them, or not even date them anymore. They're not even gonna hardly hang out with them. And sooner or later, they're gonna be in their 50s, 60s, and 70s in their nursing homes, wishing that they had a family, wishing that they did this and that. And so, like, I was hearing crap from both the men's side and the women's side, and how, and I was just hearing stories, and I'm like looking at the long term of a person who's taking the big toe approach. They won't have a woman with them in their 70s, 80s that's been there with them for 40, 50 years. And there are a lot of couples out there that have been together for 40, 50 years, and they're in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and and they're very, very much happy. Sure, they say they're not perfect or anything, but they've been together for decades and decades and decades, and so there's that aspect to it too, and the notion where and and both sides needs to, so both the women and the men um um needs to serve each other, so to speak, in various capacities and whatnot. And this is the lack of serving. And also, this is another point: is there's no serving. There's always there's either 100% serving and 0%. There's 100% serving and 0% not serving on either side. So I've seen situations. I actually seen a situation where the husband wasn't even working, and he was quote finding jobs, but that never really, he was like unemployed for like what 2 years, and then she had enough of that because she was the sole breadwinner basically at that point. And so um she was working and she was bringing in the money, and then he wasn't working, and this is at McDonald's. And so, and this is just a manager at McDonald's. And so, the woman, in this case, had fed up and she got divorced. Do I, is that act of sin? Technically. But, do I, like, in my viewpoint, it is a sin to divorce, with, maybe with an exception of actual infidelity, but that it gets so murky. The whole debate of whether or not a divorce is or is not or should not be in the Christian marriage. But she would never, but this person never claimed to be a Christian. So I don't really, or if she did, I don't know if she actually claimed to be a Christian or not. But, so yeah, so she was in a situation where the husband was just being complete laziness, and she's doing all the work, and she's a really hard working manager at McDonald's. And so yeah, it's just it's just she uh and it was just sad to see her have to go through that stuff. And he could have just gotten a job at McDonald's. Like, he could have just gotten another job at McDonald's, and she would probably be happy with that. Honestly, she would be happy with that. He would have a job at McDonald's. Like, she put up with him for years, and this was like a good 2 years, and then she got divorced, and then, and let's just say, I don't know, like that's all I'm gonna say about that situation. But yeah, so yeah, it's just really not that great of a, um and so women do the same thing to men, and so it goes vice versa. So I really don't really, I mean, I get the point of MGTOW, but I can never accept MGTOW as a actual legitimate form of living. Now, if you're living um a celibate life and you are intentionally doing it for the glory of Jesus Christ, then sure. But that's a totally different scenario. That's a different set of situations and whatnot. And so yeah, it's just, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about this. Yeah, MGTOW sucks. So does feminism sucks. So both of them sucks and certain degrees. And certain degrees they're okay, but overall MGTOW sucks. So that's my thoughts.